Hey everyone, today we're diving into the wild roller coaster ride that was the rise and fall of Blockbuster. You know, that place where you used to rent movies before Netflix took over the world? So buckle up, grab some popcorn, and let's get into it. But before we do, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated on all the entertaining and informative videos coming your way. Back in the day, Blockbuster was the king of the video rental world. With their iconic blue and yellow signs, they were almost as recognizable as McDonald's golden arches. They exploded onto the scene in the 1980s, offering a massive selection of movies and video games for rental. I mean, who could resist that thrill of walking through those doors, surrounded by the smell of popcorn and the excitement of finding the perfect movie for a Friday night? At its peak, Blockbuster had over 9,000 stores worldwide and was valued at around $5 billion. They were opening a new store every 17 hours. Can you imagine that? It's like a fast food chain, but for movies, the company was so dominant that it squashed any competition that dared to challenge its supremacy. But, as with all good things, Blockbuster's reign couldn't last forever. Enter Netflix and Redbox, the scrappy underdogs that changed the game. Netflix started out as a DVD by mail service that allowed customers to rent movies without ever leaving their couch. I can almost imagine the Blockbuster executives scoffing, "Get out of here, mail. How 20th century?" Meanwhile, Redbox was popping up those little red kiosks in grocery stores and pharmacies, offering movie rentals for just $1 a night. At first, Blockbuster laughed off these new competitors. I mean, who wants to wait for a movie to arrive in the mail or pick one up at the grocery store when you could experience the magic of a Blockbuster store? But, oh, how they underestimated the power of convenience. As it turns out, people were more than willing to trade the magic of a video store for the comfort of their own homes and the simplicity of a quick pit stop at the grocery store. Slowly but surely, Netflix and Redbox began to chip away at Blockbuster's market share, and it didn't help that Blockbuster was still clinging to its late fee system, making customers feel like they were being punished for loving movies just a little too much. Talk about a toxic relationship. While Blockbuster was busy underestimating its competitors, Netflix was already looking ahead, anticipating the next big shift in the movie rental industry: streaming. In 2007, they introduced their streaming service, which would eventually become the giant we all know and love or loathe today. And what was Blockbuster doing? Well, they were still banking on the fact that people just couldn't resist the allure of their blue and yellow stores. Spoiler alert, they were wrong. It wasn't until 2010, when Blockbuster was already gasping for air, that they finally launched their own streaming service. But by then, it was too little, too late. Customers had already flocked to Netflix and other streaming platforms, leaving Blockbuster in the dust. So let this be a lesson, folks. Never underestimate your competition, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant they may appear, because one day they might just be the ones standing over your fallen empire, eating popcorn and binge watching the latest season of their favorite show. As Netflix and Redbox gained traction, Blockbuster began to feel the heat, but instead of adapting to the changing market, they doubled down on their outdated business model. It's like they were the captain of the Titanic, stubbornly insisting on full steam ahead, even as the iceberg loomed in the distance. They made some half-hearted attempts to compete, like launching their own DVD by mail service and even trying out kiosks, but it was too little too late. It's like trying to put out a forest fire with a garden hose. Commendable effort, but ultimately futile. The company was drowning in debt, and their outdated brick-and-mortar stores were bleeding money. And let's be honest, those blue and yellow behemoths weren't exactly easy on the eyes either. As their competitors zipped past them with sleek online platforms and nifty red kiosks, Blockbuster stores started to look like relics from a bygone era. The final nail in the coffin came when Netflix introduced their streaming service, allowing people to watch movies instantly without even having to get up from their couch. It was like Netflix was offering customers a magic carpet ride to a world of unlimited movies and TV shows, while Blockbuster was still trying to sell them tickets for a rickety old horse-drawn carriage. Game over, Blockbuster. In the end, their inability to adapt to the changing market and their stubborn refusal to let go of their outdated business model led to their downfall. As stores closed one by one, the once great video rental empire crumbled into a pile of blue and yellow rubble, leaving behind nothing but memories of late fees, scratched DVDs, and the faint smell of stale popcorn. By 2010, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy, and the once mighty giant was reduced to a handful of independently owned stores. It was like watching a superhero lose their powers, stumbling around in a world that had moved on without them. The bright blue and yellow signs, which once proudly announced the latest movie releases, faded into the background as a relic of a bygone era. As the company stumbled towards its inevitable demise, it seemed like every day brought another story of a store closing or being repurposed into something else. It was like watching your favorite childhood toy store turn into a soulless office building or a fast food joint. It just didn't feel right. The remaining independently owned stores held on for dear life, like a group of survivors in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, scavenging for customers among the ruins. They tried to adapt, offering everything from video games to snacks to obscure foreign films in a desperate bid to stay relevant. But as the world continued to move towards digital streaming, even these last-ditch efforts couldn't save them. It's easy to look back at Blockbuster's decline and bankruptcy with a sense of nostalgia, mourning the loss of Friday night movie runs and the excitement of picking up that new release you've been waiting for. But it's also a cautionary tale of what happens when a company fails to keep up with the times and adapt to a changing market. The once great video rental empire fell, not with a bang, but with a whimper. The final Blockbuster store flickered out like an old VHS tape, leaving behind a world that had moved on to bigger and better things. And as the last blue and yellow sign faded into obscurity, it served as a stark reminder that nothing lasts forever, not even the most seemingly invincible of giants. So, what can we learn from the epic rise and fall of Blockbuster? Here are 3 key takeaways. Adapt or die. When the market changes, you need to change with it or risk becoming irrelevant. Don't underestimate your competition. Even the smallest challenger can become a threat if you don't take them seriously. Know when to pivot. Recognize when your current business model is no longer sustainable and be willing to make bold moves to stay in the game. Now, I want to hear from you guys. What are your fondest memories of Blockbuster? Do you think they could have survived if they'd adapted sooner? And what lessons can other businesses learn from Blockbuster's mistakes? All right, folks, that's a wrap on the rise and fall of Blockbuster. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, please give this video a big thumbs up and share it with your friends. And don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below. As always, I appreciate your support, and I'll catch you in the next video where we'll continue exploring the fascinating stories behind the world's most iconic brands. Until then, stay curious, my friends.